Hello and welcome to Vintage Revival Design Co. Today we're going to be upcycling this cutting board. I had painted it white. I was probably going to do something with it, and then I had another idea. I printed a beautiful holiday printable from the Graphics Fairy, and I'm going to frame it with the Would You Bend 1457 wreath moldings. I laid it in place, and then using a pencil I just did some tick marks so that I could cut the printable into a circular shape. Once that was done, I laid my printable back down and wanted to then just make sure I had it where I wanted it on the board. Next, I'm going to apply my printable with Posh Chalk's pigment infuser. This is a really versatile product. You can use it as a decoupage adhesive, as a sealer that's suitable for indoor and outdoor use, and also we're going to be using it with the pigments in just a little bit. So I'm using a piece of plastic wrap to smooth my printable onto the surface, and I'm going to set that aside. Then with my Titebond Quick and Thick glue, I'm going to put some glue onto my molding. I went a little heavy there on the top, but I'm using a silicone paintbrush. It's like a spatula, and it allows me to get my glue all the way to the edges and over the entire molding. And I'll spread this and then lay it back down in place, and I'll do this for both sides. If I had a little glue that seeped out of the edges, I just picked that up with a little paintbrush. Next, I'm going to be using Posh Chalk pigments. This color is Byzantine Gold. These are very fine pigment powders, and when you add them or add the infuser into the pigments, you just get this beautiful, beautiful metallic paint with it. So I'm taking a small artist brush and I'm going around the inside edges where it meets the paper. And I'm doing this just so that I can be really careful and, just try to avoid getting any on my paper. I'm going to do this all the way around, and then I'm going to take that same pigment and I'm going to put a coat of it all over the front of the board, the wood exposed areas, as well as the sides of my board. I'll do a full coat coverage, and then I'm going to let this dry before we go on to the next step. I find that using a small brush is super helpful because it allows you to get into all of the details of the mold and around it. Next, I'm using a product called Cracked Patina. This gives a beautiful, authentic, aged appearance. So you lay this product over with a seawool sponge in random areas and you let it dry. Usually takes about an hour, but you can speed it up with a heat gun. Once that is dry, I'm going to take my top coat color, which is Wiseout Paints Ivory in the chalk synthesis formula. Again, I'm using a small paintbrush to go in the edges that meet the paper, and then I'm going to paint over it the all over the gold. What will happen is that the patina will act as a resist and allowing you to get just a really authentic worn look with some of that gold exposed, which is just what I wanted. I'm going to get in all of the details. Using a small artist brush, again, is the best tip I have for this. I want to make sure that I get my edges too. Next, I'm going to take some plastic wrap and I'm going to rub it over my surfaces. This allows the ivory paint to be lifted. Again, I think it's just a very authentic look. And I just lift up some of that paint to expose the Posh Talk pigment underneath. Finally, just to add a little more detail, I'm taking a baby wipe and rubbing over the high points of the molding. This again just allows some of that beautiful gilding to show through. Once that's done, I'm using Wise Owl's furniture salve in the scent Foxtrot. It smells just like Christmas, and I'm using this to seal it. I'm applying it with a chip brush, and I'm going to let that sit for a few minutes, and then I'm going to use a microfiber cloth and wipe off any excess. It's going to give it a beautiful, buttery, smooth finish. And there you have it. I think it's a lovely upcycle for a cutting board, and I am using mine as a candle board. I hope you enjoyed this project, and if you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe.